When we think about a connection ending, we usually picture something loud, right? We think of big arguments, dramatic moments, some final, obvious breaking point. But what about the endings that happen in total silence? The ones where the feelings don't explode, they just sort of evaporate. Today, we're going to talk about that quiet fading. Just think about that for a second. It's that really strange, unsettling feeling when you suddenly realize you're just not invested anymore. There wasn't a big blow up, no single event you can point to. It was just a quiet, gradual drift into, well, indifference. It's a super confusing experience, but it's also a surprisingly common one. So it turns out this whole quiet erosion thing, it's not some random mystery. It's actually a recognized psychological process. So we're going to give it a name and really break down what's happening underneath the surface when a connection just goes silent. Okay, so here's the official term for it. Gradual emotional decoupling. It's basically the slow, steady weakening of an emotional bond. But notice the most important part of that definition, in the absence of major conflicts. This isn't about big fights. This is something that happens under the radar in the day-to-day quiet of a relationship. So what's really going on here? What causes this to happen? Well, it's not one big thing. It's a slow burn that's fueled by some pretty consistent patterns. Think about having your emotional needs repeatedly unmet. When you say what you need and it just gets ignored again and again. Or that awful feeling of emotional invisibility where you just feel completely unseen and unheard. And then there's a sustained lack of reciprocity where you look around and realize, wow, I'm the only one putting any real effort in here. It's like an erosion from 1,000 tiny disappointments that just quietly chips away at the very foundation of your attachment. All right, so how does this emotional decoupling actually feel? What are the real telltale signs that this is happening to you? Well, it's almost always a shift from a really active, engaged emotion to a very passive, disengaged one. And this is where we see the real disconnect between what we expect and what happens. We expect the end to look like dramatic arguments and loud conflict. But the reality of gradual decoupling, it's quiet indifference. Instead of feeling all this heightened anger, there's just a decline in curiosity. You just stop wondering how they are, what they're up to. The loud conflict you'd anticipate is replaced by this strange, almost unsettling emotional calm. And this is probably the most important sign of all. Anger, as uncomfortable as it is actually a sign of investment. You get angry because you still care, because you're still fighting for the connection. But when that anger just dissolves into apathy, into feeling nothing at all, that is the most definitive sign that the decoupling is complete. You're not fighting anymore, because deep down, you know there's nothing left to fight for. Now, I know this all might sound a little bleak, but there's a really powerful way to reframe this entire experience. This quiet detachment isn't just about an ending, it can also be the beginning of a whole new kind of understanding. It is so easy to see this fading as some kind of personal failure. We ask ourselves, what did I do wrong? Or why couldn't I make this work? But what if it isn't a failure? What if it's actually a form of resolution? Just let that sink in for a moment. Clarity arrived quietly. What if this detachment, this calm, is actually your own emotional system delivering a quiet truth? A truth that this connection just doesn't serve you anymore, that your needs aren't being met, and that it's okay to let go. It's not a sign of collapse, it's a signal of clarity. And so that really brings it all back to you. This isn't just about understanding a psychological concept, it's about learning to listen to the quiet signals in our own lives. So the question I want to leave you with is this: what quiet truths might be arriving in your life right now?